Wake up, Aston Villa. It's the 4th of August today, 12 days before our Premier League season starts. And we're not really close to any sort of incomings by the sounds of it. No murmurings going on, no solid transfer talks that are going on, which is proving hugely disappointing. I really want Monchi to get a move on. I want to talk a little bit about Monchi again, previewing the Aston Villa Roma game on Wednesday at the Bescot. And unfortunately, I won't be there this time. I went last time to last season's friendly against Bilbao, but can't make this one, and it's sold out now. But guys, those of you that are going to the game, please do ask the Roma fans what they think about Monchi, and you'll get a totally different kind of picture maybe to what we have kind of had with him. And he's done some good business for us, but he's also had a lot of misses as well. Go back to my previous video about our transfer strategy and my in-depth look at Monchi's spell at Roma and how they're basically still recovering from his disastrous spell as their director of football, director of transfers, whatever you want to call it. But looking back, Roma were a team who were always at the top of Serie A, always kind of challenging up there. And the business that Monchi did has set them back almost a decade, maybe more. And now they are literally just climbing back. They ended up 5th last year. They have appointed a new manager, and I've got a feeling that this manager might get it right. He's the former Atalanta manager, Gasperini, who did absolute wonders at Atalanta. I think he won the was it the Europa League or one of the competitions, and had players like Adam Lukman playing really well for Atalanta. Did some really good business as well, selling the likes of Rasmus Højlund and just recently Retegui as well. So he's a manager who is experienced in Serie A and is probably the ideal man to get Roma back on track. But yeah, we're playing them on Wednesday. It's going to be the sort of last 3 fixtures of pre-season, so the last kind of leg really of pre-season where things do kind of ramp up. Obviously, just wrapped up the US tour and played some okay teams. Obviously, the weather and conditions were challenging as well. But now we're back on home soil. And, this game against Roma should prove to be a really, really good test. And then we've got away trips to Marseille and Villarreal, which looks like 2 separate squads are going to be traveling because the games are over 2 days. So this is going to be a good chance to really get the full squad against Roma. And I think we'll get a much more of an idea of what Emery wants to do sort of player-wise. Is Bailey someone who's still in his thoughts about starting? Is he looking at Marlon playing from the right? Is Rodgers going to stay in that number 10 role, or will he be drifted out wide? Where does McGinn fit in? We've seen Onana have a strong pre-season. Kamara's been very good as well. Tielemans has been okay. So it's all about knitting that all together now and trying to get the best players on the pitch for these last 3 games. And I just wanted to sit and talk a little bit about Roma and about what to expect from them. As I mentioned, historically a massive club in Serie A who have won Serie A titles, been challenging at the top. And I used to watch Italian football when I was a youngster on Channel 4 back in the day, and used to love watching Italian football and the players that were there, and the likes of Gabriel Batistuta for Fiorentina, and then Roma, Montella, Totti, Cafu. They've had some really, really good players over the years. I mean, that's just 1 or 2 I'm naming there. They've got loads more. But Roma last season ending up in 5th position in Serie A. They had the 2nd best joint defense in the league. So they were sort of 35 goals conceded, and that was level with Inter Milan and Juventus. I think Napoli were the best defense, and they were the overall winners of Serie A in the end last year. So they were joint second best with Inter and Juve. 56 goals scored. They are the lowest goal scorers in the top 9 in Serie A. So you can see exactly where the problems are. Defensively, quite sound, as most Italian teams are. It's just lacking the attacking sort of creativity and spark and having a real goal scorer. I mean, they've recently just brought in Evan Ferguson, who wasn't doing a lot at Brighton, let's be honest. And they brought him on loan to kind of maybe lead their line, which shows you how much they're kind of struggling for goals, really. And then, they've got also another Villa target that we looked at maybe in January at the right back situation before we bought Garcia. Wesley from Flamengo. They bought him in for 25 million as their right back. He's very much in that sort of Cafu kind of mold. So maybe they want to, get him to play in that kind of role, in that kind of position. And they recently brought in a centre midfield player called Neil El Nayoui, from, I think it's Lens in France. So he's cost about 25 million as well. So they have bought some players in. There has been a few more arrivals there as well. But let me start this one off also as well by saying there are 8 players who have played for Aston Villa and played for Roma. Have a little think about that. Get your mind working. Answers in the comments, and I'll reveal those 8 players at the end of this preview, which hopefully won't be too much longer. But yeah. So 8 players. Can you name 8 players who have played for Villa and Roma? One of those players is currently playing for Villa as well. So that's a little clue for you. The danger men for Roma, obviously historically they've had Paulo Dybala, who again we've been linked with in the past. Very good creative player, plays in that number 10 role, has had his fair share of injuries, it's fair to say. So, I think he's still recovering from injury. I'm not sure he's going to make this game. He is put down as fit on transfer market, but, let's see what happens there. I don't think he's figured too much in their preseason games. Then they've got a midfield player, I think he's a French international called Mane Kone, who basically is their legs in midfield. Very athletic kind of midfield player, thinking of like N'Golo Kante kind of vibes. He's a very, very energetic box-to-box midfield player. And they're looking to pair him and the new signing together, perhaps in that centre midfield. Gasperini likes to go with a 3 at the back, 4 across midfield, and a 3 up front. Well, 5 in midfield, maybe 2 up front, that kind of shape. But definitely 3 at the back with wing backs. And that's probably why they brought in like the Wesley, the right back in for them as well, because I think he would do really well there. Mateus Soler is another player that Villa had looked at last year as part of the Douglas Luiz deal, but I think we ended up going with Barrenechea. Soler was also there, but he hung around and stayed in Serie A, and he's at Roma. Getting a look in every now and then. He's not a first-team regular. He's still quite young. He's only about 22 years of age, but he's one of their danger players, and he got sort of 5 goals last season, so he'll be one to watch out for. They've got a Ukrainian striker called Artem Dovbyk, who got 12 goals last season as their top goal scorer. Big, imposing striker, bought for 28 million from Girona a couple of years ago now. So he'll be someone that we need to keep sort of close eyes on. He's very big, physical. I imagine if it's going to be him and Ferguson, then that's quite a big physical front line for Roma. So no doubt they'll be probably looking to put a lot of aerial balls into the box from wide positions to get the best out of those two. And yeah, that's them. They had a guy on loan from AC Milan called Salamakers, who's a Belgian player who chipped in with 7 goals last season, but he's since gone back to AC Milan. They haven't made that deal permanent. And then obviously Paulo Dybala, who I just mentioned there, came up with 6 goals for the season as well. So not a very fruitful year for him, but I think his season was plagued by injuries. So that's going to be the problem there with keeping Dybala fit for them. But yeah, and pre-season for them, they're obviously 2 games into their pre-season. I think Serie A season kicks off a little bit later than the Premier League. So they're a little bit behind us in terms of maybe their preparation, maybe their sharpness. But they won 3-0 against Cannes, the French team. And Evan Ferguson did score in that game. I think Manu Kone scored in that game as well. I think Dobrik as well scored in that game. So that was a 3-0 win against Cannes. And then before that, a 1-0 away win in Germany against Kaiserslautern as well. So their preseason has just really kind of begun. This is their 3rd fixture of preseason. So they are still coming into preparations and things like that. But Monchi is someone who is, worked at Roma, had an ill-fated spell there for a few years. If you go back and watch my previous video, I mentioned about he sold the likes of Alisson, Salah, Strootman, bought in the likes of Patrick Schick for 38 million, which I think is still their record signing. Then he brought in Robin Olsen to replace Alisson. Paid 8 million for Robin Olsen from Copenhagen. Brought in aging players like Steven Nzonzi at 29 years of age for like 25 million, no resale value. Javier Pastore from PSG, another 29-year-old, player who only made 30 appearances in about 3 years and cost him a real packet. But he really sort of sold off the gems there, and Roma have been sort of recovering since Monchi left the building and was giving his kind of marching orders and banished from Rome, basically. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of response he gets from the Roma fans. But if anyone is going to the game, speak to the Roma fans about what their thoughts are on Monchi, and they will tell you. I've worked with a friend of mine who's a Roma fan, and it's like you mentioned Monchi, and it's just like you mentioned a swear word to him. So yeah, he's not held in high esteem there at Roma. But I've got a feeling this could be the turning point. The new manager Gasperini coming in for them is going to give them a kick. He is experienced. He's very, very good at what he does, and I think he'll be a very good move for them. But looking at Villa's team and moving on to some Villa news as well. See some Villa podcast, so that would be good. We are looking to go strong. I think Onana has impressed in pre-season, and I would think that he would probably start. Maybe ahead of Tielemans. I think him and Kamara maybe in the CDM positions, and then ahead of that, Rodgers in the 10. McGinn, I think maybe McGinn from the right, so he's sort of cutting in, and then Marlon from the left, and maybe if Maatsen plays as well, maybe you can have that Maatsen and Marlon Dutch link up on the left hand side. That might be an idea for this one, and then obviously you go Ollie Watkins up front. Very, very quiet on the striker. Well, not even the striker news, the transfer news at the moment. We're 4th of August, 12 days to go before Newcastle's game. I don't want to be leaving everything to the last minute, because it's not as though we just need one player. I know that we've got to get players out. I know that we have to probably sell before we have to buy. But you would think that Monchi would have had conversations already, speaking to teams about, if they're interested in the likes of Emi Buendia, for example. Can we get a loan deal for him? Can we get him off the books? A lot of these conversations should have already been had. What is he doing sort of day to day? Even during the season or coming close to the end of the season, we all kind of knew that Buendia probably wouldn't figure too much in our plans. Dendoncker, what was the plan for him when he came back from his loan at Anderlecht? Could we get another team that could take him on, or do we need to terminate his contract? There just seems to be a lot of players hanging around. We've got a scrap heap of players. Samuel Ling Jr., what's going on with him? I think a lot of the youngsters, Tristan Rose, I think they'll probably go out on loan. Lamar Bogard is someone that has impressed me actually during pre-season. We probably will hang on to him, but does that mean he's our now backup for concert at centre-back? Is that what we're looking to do? But the conversations about outgoing players, especially the likes of Buendia, Dendoncker, Bailey, that's all gone quiet now. That was heavily linked with Saudi. What's happened there? But these players, they should have kind of been, these discussions should have been had, should have been moved on. And we should have been preparing for incoming players now. I mean, there's not even rumours, any concrete rumours. Garnacho is probably the last one. Been linked with Barcelona 19-year-old Hector Fort. What's the point? 19, he'll probably go out on loan to Real Union or something. Do you know what I mean? That's not exciting to Villa fans. We need something, and we should be far down the line with our transfer dealings now. We should be sort of closing in on targets, not still looking from scratch. Because my feeling is that we're going to get to beginning of the season against Newcastle, and there'll be no new faces. We'll probably play the first 2 or 3 games of the season, get to close to the end of the window, and then all of a sudden we're going to try to bring in players right at the last minute. And then who's available? Are we going to go back in for Asensio, get him on loan again? Because it looks like he's turning down Fenerbahce now. So these are all things that really, really should have been kind of conversation should have been had. What is Monchi doing? This is his job. His 9 to 5 is his only real job, really. He needs to basically be bringing players to the club, getting interest in players, getting players out. What's he doing? What is he doing? So I mean, that's my fault. And he has done a good job. He has brought in some good players for us. So I'm not going to totally, go too hard on him. But as a Villa fan, it's frustrating when you're seeing other clubs doing business. Spurs bringing in Paulinho on loan yesterday. Good bit of business. Are we all of a sudden going to see Jack Grealish come in? Douglas Luiz return to us? Are we going to see Asensio come back to us? I don't know. I can't see it. And obviously, we've got the SCR side of things, so we can't bring in all these players on massive wages. So it just needs to be looked at. It needs. Buendia needs to go. Dendoncker needs to go. Illing Jr. needs to go. Dobbin. Oh my goodness, we still got Dobbin as well. He's on about 25 grand. I mean, do you know the pound you put in your trolley for shopping? I wouldn't even pay that for him. So we need to get rid of players like Dobbin. I thought he'd gone already, but he's not. Bailey needs to get gone. He needs a new challenge. You know what I mean? Moreno is still there for us as well. We've got so much deadwood that just needs to get out. And Monchi's got a lot of work to do between now and the end of the window, which is, just under a month away now. But you wanted players in from the first few games of the season. You don't want to be doing transfer business right until the end. You might bring in one player, maybe two, but your 2 or 3 players that you should have brought in already should be here before the first game of the season. But doesn't look likely. But anyway, guys, just frustrating as a Villa fan, seeing other clubs do business. Chelsea bringing in Hato yesterday. I mean, they look, levels above us now in terms of their squad depth and quality. So, the top 4 is probably already done. Liverpool, City, Arsenal and Chelsea. That's the top 4, whatever order. And then Villa are looking at sort of buying out the 5th position with the likes of Newcastle, Brighton, Spurs, Man United, maybe, who might have a good season. So, we're also now looking at 5th positions, probably the best that we can do. But that's just my thoughts. I'm just a bit frustrated. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there before this turns into a long rant. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Do like and subscribe. And just to finish off, those 8 players that I mentioned that played for Roma and Villa, I'll just go through them now. So the first one, Robin Olsen, number 1. Number 2, Pierluigi Golini, another goalkeeper who played very little for us in the championship days. I think he was a Di Matteo signing. Third player, Luca Digne, current Aston Villa left back, played for Roma as well. Nicola Zaniolo, obviously had that loan spell with Villa, hit and miss really. And then we had John Carew, club legend, played for Roma as well. Jordan Veretout, there's another name for you, played for Villa and Roma. I think Roma bought him for like 18 million when he was about 30 years old. Not sure if it was a Monchi signing or not, but there you go. 7th player, and this was probably one that would have thrown you. Michael Bradley. Had him on loan at Villa for, I think it was like 3 months or so. I think he played like 1 game, but the US international, I think he was captain at that point. So Michael Bradley is the 7th player. And the last player is Tammy Abraham. There you go, the 8 players who played for Aston Villa and Roma. How many did you get? Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back at you with a match reaction in the next few days. Bye for now.